Judge.
Hey,
Good morning.
sorry, I hung up in a generator meeting.
Uh-oh.
Really exhilarating. It is hurricane season here.
Hmm.
Okay, so Chambers County Probate Court come to order. Those of you that are going to testify, if you'll raise your right hand, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
Do.
Thank you. Put your hand down. All right, cause number 100, the state of Ronnie Joe Riley.
Judge, that's me.
Okay, you may proceed, Counselor.
All right, Judge, we're going to go ahead with the airship first. And so my first witness is going to be Sharon Smith.
Hello, good morning.
Miss
Good
Smith,
morning.
is it true that you live at 14405 North 100th Street in Collinsville, Oklahoma?
Yes,
And is it true that you're a first cousin to Mr. Ronnie Joe Riley and that you knew him for over 40 years?
yes,
And during those 40 years, you became well acquainted with the family and marital history of Mr. Riley, who died in Baytown, Harris County, Texas. Is that true?
yes,
To the best of your knowledge, did he die without a will?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, he was unmarried at the time he died,
yes,
right? He had two children, Stephanie Steer and Melissa K. Riley. Is that true?
yes, yes,
And he didn't take any other children into his home or raise any other children to your knowledge. Is that true?
yes,
And it's true that you have no interest in the financial interest in the estate of Mr. Riley. Is that correct?
yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Sorry, Judge, I don't have anything further.
All right, I call Stacy Ray.
You may proceed.
Miss Ray, could you introduce yourself to the court? You'll have to
That's
unmute
right,
her.
you're muted, Miss Ray.
Okay, my
Yep.
name is Stacy Ray.
Miss Ray, is it true that you live at 410 North First Street in Porham, Oklahoma?
Yes,
And you were a close family friend and you knew Mr. Ronnie Riley for more than 30 years. Is that correct?
wait. Do what?
You're a family friend and you knew Mr. Riley for more than 30 years. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right. And during that time, you became familiar with the family and marital history of Mr. Riley, who died in Baytown, Harris County, Texas. Is that correct?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, Mr. Riley died without a will. Is that correct?
yes,
And at the time of his death, Mr. Riley was unmarried. Is that correct?
yes,
And at the time he died, he had two children, Stephanie Steer and Melissa Riley. Is that correct?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, is it true that he raised no other children in his home?
yes,
And is it true that you have no financial interest in this estate?
yes.
All right, I'll pass the witness.
That's it.
I have nothing further, Judge.
All right. Judge, I'd call Stephanie Steer.
You may proceed.
All right, Miss Steer, can you introduce yourself to the court?
Yes, I'm Stephanie Steer. Hello.
And Mr. Riley, your father died on August 6, 2023 at the age of 59 in Baytown, Harris County, Texas. Is that true?
Yes,
And at the time of his death, he had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County. Is that correct?
yes,
And your dad died without a will. Is that true?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, you know that citation has been served and returned in a manner and for length of time required by the Texas Probate Code. Is that correct?
yes,
And a necessity exists for the administration of this estate. Is that true?
yes,
And that all distributees agree on the advisability of having an independent administration and agree that you should be appointed independent administrator to serve without bond. Is that correct?
yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, you're not disqualified by law from accepting letters of administration or from serving as administrator of the estate. Is that correct?
yes.
All right. I'd pass the witness.
Right now.
Yes, sir. Ms. Steer, are you aware of anyone else who's not listed on the application who claims to be a child of Mr. Riley's,
No,
whether they were legally adopted or not? No one that you know of claims to be like a son or daughter to him.
No.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right,
Yes.
Judge, at this time, we'd ask that the court enter a finding of the heirship of Mr. Riley and appoint Miss Stephanie Steer as the independent administrator of the estate to serve without bond, waive appraisals.
Mr. Otto, you agree with that?
Yes, I don't have any objection to that, Judge.
Okay, I see you signed off on the order. All right,
Yes.
hereby approve the order declaring heirship, grant independent administration, authorize letters of administration. Thank you.
All right, thanks,
And I've
Judge.
also included,
Maybe we be
approve
excused.
that line of fee, and you may be excused. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
And I filed my report with the court, Judge. I didn't ask you to take judicial notice of that, but it was filed.
Yes, ma'am, we have it. Thank
Thank
you. All right, cause number 115, the state of Charlene Carol Strickland. Ms. White, good morning. Ms. Walsh,
Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor. Nice
you
to
may
see you.
proceed.
Thank you. I'm Ms. Flukinger. Please state your full name for the court.
Yes, Ginger Flukinger.
And you were well acquainted with the family and marital history of Charlene Carol Strickland.
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your relationship to her?
Lifetime friend.
Okay. And she passed away on November 27th, 2022, when she was 48 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you knew her for 40 years, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, when was the last time you saw or spoke to Ms. Strickland?
The Monday before she passed away, I believe November 21st, 2022.
Okay. And she was married 2 times during a lifetime?
Yes.
Okay. The first one was to Derek Lane Nicholson on October 28th, 1995.
Yes, ma'am.
And they were divorced in 1998. And there were no children of that marriage.
Correct.
Okay. And the second time was to Lynn Arwen Strickland on March 16, 2001. And they were divorced in 2011, correct?
Correct.
Now, the child of that marriage is Carter Lynn Strickland. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay. And were there any other children born to Charlene other than the children you just testified about?
No, ma'am.
Okay. She had no deceased children?
No, ma'am.
She was not married at the time of her death?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did she talk to you about having a will?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so to your knowledge, a diligent search was made and there was no will found?
Correct.
Okay. And you have no financial interest in this estate?
No, ma'am.
And no one paid you for your testimony here today?
No, ma'am.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'm the attorney ad litem, Lori Walsh. I just have one question for you. Do you feel confident telling this court that you knew Ms. Strickland well enough that if she had any other children born to or adopted by her other than Carter Strickland, you would have known about those children?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Thank you.
Call your next witness, counselor.
Okay. Ms. Fry, please state your full name for the court.
Ms. Fry, you are muted. Yeah, did we lose her?
She's still in the session,
Let's
Judge.
see here. There she is.
Okay.
There she
Ms.
is.
Fry?
All right. Can you
Okay.
hear us? All right. Yeah, ask your question again, counselor.
All right. Ms. Fry, can you please state your full name for the court?
My name is Carrie Fry from Mont Bellevue.
Okay. And you were well acquainted with the family and marital history of Charlene Carol Strickland?
Yes,
And you were friends, correct?
correct.
Okay. Ms. Strickland passed away on November 27th, 2022 when she was 48 years old.
Correct.
When was the last time that you saw or spoke to Ms. Strickland?
Probably October of 22 before she passed.
Okay. And so Ms. Strickland was married 2 times during her lifetime. Is that right?
Correct.
The first time was to Derek Lane Nicholson, and they were divorced in 1998 with no children of that marriage.
Correct.
And the second time was to Lynn Arwen Strickland on March 16th, 2001. And there was, they were divorced in 2011. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
And the only child born of that marriage was Carter Lynn Strickland.
Correct.
Okay. Now, to your knowledge, there were no other children born to or adopted by Charlene. Is that correct?
Correct.
She never expressed an intent or desire to adopt a child that lived with her at any point. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. She has no deceased children.
Correct.
She was not married at the time of her death.
Correct.
And you spoke to her regularly, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did she ever talk to you about having a will?
No, she did not.
Okay. And a diligent search was made to find a will as far as you know?
Yes, correct.
And no will was found?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have a financial interest in this estate?
No, I do not.
Okay. And no one paid you for your testimony?
No.
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor. And for my heirship, complete with that, do you want me to go ahead and proceed with the administration?
I just
Ms.
have one,
Wallace, yeah,
I just have one question for Ms. Fry.
Yes.
Ms. Fry, I'm Lori Walsh, the attorney ad litem.
Yes.
Do you feel confident telling this court that you knew Ms. Strickland well enough that if she had any other children born to her adopted by her other than Carter Strickland, that you would have known about those children?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
okay, so, Ms. Walsh, you agree to the judgment declaring heirship. I see you signed off on it, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm going to approve that. Is your item fee in here?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a separate order and those fees have been paid.
Okay, I
Thank you.
approve that also, and you may proceed, Counselor.
May I be
Thank you.
dismissed, Your Honor?
You may be. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Mr. Strickland?
Yes.
Okay. Please state your full name for the court.
Carter Lynn Strickland.
And your mother passed away on November 27th, 2022 at the age of 48 years.
Correct.
She was domiciled in Chambers County on the date of her death,
Correct.
and her death was less than 4 years ago.
Correct.
Okay. And she was married 2 times during her lifetime.
Correct.
Okay. The first one was to Derek Lane Nicholson, and they were divorced in 1998.
Correct.
Okay. There was no children at that marriage.
Correct.
Okay. She was married to your father, Lynn Orwin Strickland, on March 16th, 2001, and they were divorced in 2011. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
You're the only child of that marriage?
Correct.
Okay. She has no deceased children.
Correct.
She was not married at the time of her death.
Correct.
Now, if your mother would have birthed another child, adopted another child, or cared for another child that she expressed a desire or intent to adopt, she would have told you. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And did your mother talk to you about having a will?
No.
Okay. And a diligent search was made to find a will?
Yes.
No will was found. Is that right?
Correct. No will was found.
Okay. There's a necessity for the administration of your mother's estate?
Yes.
And you're asking the court to appoint you as the independent administrator of the state. Is that right?
Correct.
And issue letters of administration to you?
Correct.
And you're qualified to serve and accept the letters of administration. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And the estate consists of real and personal property of less than $1 million?
Correct.
All right. And you're asking no other action be had in relation to the settlement of the estate other than return of inventory and appraisement listed claims. Is that right?
Correct.
And you're asking the court to waive the requirement of a bond
Correct.
and waive the appointment of appraisers?
Correct.
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, everybody grant the first amendment administration, authorize the letters. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day.
You too. Mr. Strickland. All right, call the number 10, the state of Donald Lance Taylor. Ms. Clapper, good morning. Ms. Clapper, you in there?
There you go. I'm here.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Yes, I am, Your Honor. Can we just switch places? Okay, thanks.
Is Adeline on?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm here on behalf of Mr. Mahoney.
Where are you? Wave your hand. There's too many. There you go. Okay. All right, you may proceed, Counselor.
Okay. First, I called Elizabeth Lee Taylor. Miss Taylor, are you the widow of Donald Lance Taylor?
Yes.
And was he a resident of Chambers County, Texas for more than 6 months prior to his death?
Yes.
And was he married to anyone other than yourself during his lifetime?
No.
And did you look for a will?
Yes.
We actually had a
We-
will, and he became too ill to
And-
come in to sign it. did-
Correct,
So you know there is no will
right.
that he has actually signed. There is a necessity for the administration of his estate, correct?
Yes,
But first, the judge has to determine the heirship, the children that you and he had. And you had 3 children, you and Mr. Taylor had 3 children.
we had 3 children, we adopted 1.
All right, and those 3 children are named Anne Marie, Tiffany Lee Taylor Flores.
Yeah, it's Anne Marie Taylor, Tiffany Lee Taylor, and Donna Denise Taylor.
And you adopted a grandson.
And we adopted Caleb Patrick Taylor.
And one of these children has predeceased.
Yes, Tiffany Lee Taylor passed.
All right, and is there any other children that were taken in by you and Mr. Taylor to raise, though they were not your children, other than the one you adopted?
No,
All right. Each one of those children have signed waivers which have been filed before the court, correct?
yes,
They know about this proceeding, they've received a copy of the application to determine heirship and for independent administration. And they, in each of the waivers, have agreed to that.
correct,
And in order for you to be the independent administration,
yes,
they've also agreed to no bond and also to no appraisers.
correct.
All right. So are you asking, you have 2 people that we have brought today who knew Mr. Taylor all of his lifetime.
Yes,
Well, most of his lifetime when he moved into Chambers County.
right.
When did you and Mr. Taylor move here?
About 17 years ago.
All right. And you're asking the court to approve the application with the 2 witnesses that we're going to call next and to enter the independent administration of the estate as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And to waive a bond. All right. The next I will call is, can I have yours? Rhett Ransom Turner.
You may proceed.
Okay. Would you state your name for the court?
Rhett Ransom Turner,
And where do you live, Rhett?
1711 Joe Wilson Road.
And how long have you known Donna Lance Taylor, who died on September the 4th,
2021.
2021? And 4 years have not passed since that time. How long have you known him?
Since 2007, when they moved to be our nearest neighbor at that point.
All right. And in the time that you got to know him and Elizabeth, you knew and determined how many children they had?
Yes,
And that there were 3 daughters
correct,
and a grandson that they had adopted.
correct,
And those would be Anne Marie, Tiffany, Donna, and Caleb.
correct,
And during the time that you knew them, you learned that Tiffany had died.
correct.
All right. Do you know of any other person that they would have taken into their home to raise as a kid?
I do not.
All right. And do you have any understanding or idea that you would benefit from your testimony today other than to show the court that these are truly the heirs of Mr. Taylor?
I do not.
One that I would also add would be his wife, Elizabeth, would be an heir.
Correct.
All right. I pass the witness.
Mr. Okay.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Turner. Do you remember talking to me back on June 4th, 2024?
I do.
Okay, and I just have one question for you. Based on your close relationship with Mr. Taylor, are you confident in telling the court that you do not believe he has any other children or heirs as you've testified today?
That's correct.
I pass the witness.
Call your next witness, counselor.
Would you state your name for the court, please?
Amy Hill Turner.
And Ms. Turner, you're married to Rhett, correct? And when did you first meet Lance Taylor?
Donald Taylor, I met in 07 when they moved next door to us.
Okay, so you've known them for how many years?
Many-
17 years?
17 years.
That's a long time. Did you have sufficient contact with them to know the heirs of Mr. Taylor and Mrs. Taylor?
Yes.
And I know it sounds repetitious, but it would be the three daughters
Yes.
and Caleb, the grandson.
Correct.
And you know that Tiffany, one of the daughters, has predeceased.
Yes.
And then, of course, Miss Taylor herself would be an heir on any community property.
Yes.
And do you know of anyone else that they have taken in, to your knowledge?
No.
To be a child or an heir in this case, or have a claim to be such?
I do not.
All right. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good morning, Mrs. Turner. Do you
Good
remember
morning.
speaking with me on the phone on June the 4th?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and my question to you is based on your close relationship with the decedent, are you confident in telling the court that you do not believe there are any other heirs today, other than those that have been testified to?
Yes, I'm confident.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Your Honor, at this time would ask you to enter the judgment declaring heirship and also the judgment granting an independent administration to serve without bond or appraisers for Elizabeth Taylor.
All right,
And I think there's an order for you to sign for the ad litem that I received this morning that has not been paid, but it will be paid today.
Okay, so you've agreed to an ad litem fee,
Yes,
and I will sign that order when I get it. I don't know if I have it yet, but I'm going to approve the judgment declaring heirship. And you agree to that, Ms. Strocamp?
Yes, sir.
correct?
No.
And also the order granting independent administration and authorizing letters.
thank you,
Thank you,
Judge.
ma'am. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 40, the state of Connie Sue Powell. Mr. Kirby, good morning.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, we would call Kara Jennings. This is an application for probate of wills, immunity title.
You can proceed with Ms. Jennings.
Yes, are you there, Ms. Jennings?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, will you state your full name for the court, please?
Kara Susan Jennings
And where do you reside?
at 13814 Martinique Lane in Montgomery.
And you're the applicant for a will, probate of wills, immunity titles, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The deceased is your mother, Connie Sue Powell,
Yes, sir.
and she's survived by her husband, Clarence Edward Powell, as well as your sister, Kelly LeGrone, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Powell died on June the 4th of 2022 in Chambers County, Texas, at the age of 60, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And at the time of her death, she resided in Baytown, but Chambers County.
Yes, sir.
And she was domiciled in Texas and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County on the day of her death.
Yes, sir.
And at the time of death, did she own any property in Texas as well as other personal property such as cash, automobiles, household effects, and personal effects with, say, a probable value in excess of $150,000?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that you are familiar with and have personal knowledge of your mother's past financial history?
Yes, sir.
Has your mom, did she ever apply for or receive any Medicaid benefits either before or after March the 1st of 2005?
No, sir.
Did the decedent, your mom, leave a valid will written or dated, I'm sorry, May the 12th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
And was this will ever revoked?
No, sir.
Was the will self-proven in the manner required by law?
Yes, sir.
And the subscribing witnesses to the will are Denise L. Talent, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then Robert L. Newman.
Yes, sir.
And the will names you, her daughter, Kara Jennings, as the independent executor, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And there were no children born or adopted by the decedent after the date of the will.
True. That's correct.
And no marriage of the decedent was ever dissolved after the will was made.
Correct.
Okay. Does the will name the state or a government agency of the state or a charitable organization as the devisee?
No, sir.
Have you investigated, I think I asked you this, but you've investigated the financial affairs of your mother, the decedent?
Yes, sir.
And are there any unpaid debts that are owed by the estate of the decedent other than just the outstanding lien on the marital home?
No, sir.
Okay, and there's no necessity of administration of the estate.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And I've sent to you an affidavit of no debt, as well as proof of death and other facts that you will sign after the hearing here today.
Yes, sir.
File those with the court. And are you asking the court to approve and sign the proposed order admitting wills of probate as a immutable title?
Yes, sir.
And I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you.
No question. Everybody admit the will of probate, immutable title. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, cause number 62, the state of Paul Edward Johnson. Mr. Sylvia, you may proceed.
Ready, Your Honor.
Morning.
Morning. I've got Ms. Johnson, can you unmute yourself?
You're still muted, Ms. Johnson.
Okay.
There you go. All right, now you may proceed, Counselor.
Ms. Johnson, can you please state your name for the court?
Tanya Cody Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is it true that Paul Edward Johnson died on August 3rd, 2023 in Baytown, Chambers County, Texas at the age of 58 years, and that 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that the decedent was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County at the date of his death?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that the document dated December 6, 2002, which purports to be your husband's will, was never revoked as far as you know?
That's correct.
And is it true that a necessity exists for the administration of his estate?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that as of the date of the will, the decedent had 2 children, Ryan Cody Johnson and Taylor Renee Johnson?
That's correct.
Is it true that one child, Jordan Wade Johnson, was born to the decedent after the date of the will?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that the decedent was not divorced or had his marriage annulled or declared void after the date of the will?
That's correct.
And was the decedent married to you at the time he wrote the will?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that Nancy R. Brown, the named independent executor in the decedent's will, has renounced her right to serve as independent executor?
That's correct.
And is it true that Karen E. Ripple, now known as Karen E. Berry, who was also named as alternate independent executor in the decedent's will, has also renounced her right to serve as independent executor?
That's correct.
And is it true that you, as the only beneficiary of the will of the decedent, have decided that it's advisable to have an independent administration, and that you are not disqualified by law from accepting letters testamentary or from serving as independent administrator? Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I've got no further questions for the witness.
Everybody admit the will of probate and authorized letters. Thank you, Counselor. Have a good day, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 65, the state of Lily Lois Spear. Mr. Fuller.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Your Honor, my name is Roy Fuller. I'm representing the applicant, Kevin Lee Spear, in the estate of Lily Lois Spear. The decedent died on May the 14th, 2024 in Chambers County, Texas. She was 84 years of age. Obviously, 4 years have not elapsed since the date of her death. At the time of her death, she was a resident and domiciled in Chambers County. The original will has been filed with the court dated April the 28th, 2015. To my knowledge, that's the last will and testament of the decedent. That will was never revoked. There is a need for administration of this estate. There were no children born or adopted after the execution of the will. The decedent did not have a marriage that was dissolved after the execution of the will. The will names a son, Kevin Lee Spear, to serve as independent executor. And to my knowledge, there's no reason why he would be disqualified from serving. He's not ever committed a felony. The will does not name the state governmental agency of the state or a charitable organization as a devotee. Your Honor, it's a non-taxable estate. We'd ask the court to appoint Mr. Spear, Kevin Lee Spear, as independent executor and admit the will to probate.
Are you sure Kevin's qualified? I know him pretty well.
Yes, I've known him for many, many years, Judge, and I can
Okay.
assure you that he is qualified.
I hereby admit the will to probate and authorize letters of testamentary. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 66, the state of Stephen Monroe Humphrey. Mr. Lee, good morning.
Good morning, Judge. And I have Miss Humphrey right here.
All right, you may proceed.
All right. Would you state your full name for the record?
Deanna Walker Humphrey,
And where do you reside?
604 Oak Street, Anahuac, Texas, Chambers County, Texas.
And Stephen Monroe Humphrey, the deceased, was your husband. Is that correct?
Yes,
And Mr. Humphrey passed away on June 9th, 2024 at the age of 85 years. Is that correct?
yes,
So obviously 4 years have not elapsed since the time of his death, correct?
yes,
And Stephen Monroe Humphrey was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Anahuac, Chambers County, Texas at the time of his passing, correct?
yes,
Is it your testimony that this court has jurisdiction and venue of Stephen Moore Humphrey's estate?
yes,
Okay. Is it also your testimony the citation has been served upon those required and returned in the manner and for the length of time required by the Texas Probate Code?
yes,
Your husband, Stephen, signed his will before witnesses on August 3rd, 2023. Is that correct?
yes,
In his last will and testament, your husband appointed you, Deanna Walker Humphrey, to serve as independent executrix, to serve independently without bond or security. Is that correct?
yes,
And you are not qualified from applying for issuance and accepting letters testamentary. Is that correct?
yes,
To the best of your knowledge, Stephen Monroe Humphrey's will was never revoked, was it?
no,
And no state governmental agency of the state nor charitable organization is named by the will as a devotee or beneficiary. Is that correct?
yes,
After the date of the will, no child was born or adopted by Stephen Moore Humphrey, correct?
yes,
No marriage of Stephen Monroe Humphreys, including yours, of course, was ever dissolved after the will was made. Is that correct?
yes,
To the best of your knowledge, proof required for probate has been made, and you are not qualified from accepting letters testamentary or serving as executrix, correct?
disqualified.
Or disqualified, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, that's all we have, Your Honor.
Probate and authorized letters. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Good day, man.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I told you, it's pretty.
All right, cause number 69, the state of Herman Leon Dunn. Mr. Dawson, good morning.
Good morning, Judge. Judge, we have Sonia Rochelle Camp here and we're ready to go.
You may proceed.
State your full name, please.
Tanya Rochelle Camp.
And you're also known as Sonia R. Camp, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the decedent is Herman Leon Dunn, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how are you related to him?
He's my stepfather.
Okay, and I see you have someone seated to your right. Who is that?
This is my mother, Rochelle Dunn.
Is she the surviving spouse of the decedent Herman Leon Dunn?
She is.
And let's see, they've been married since 1984, is that right?
Yes.
And now, Mr. Dunn, your stepfather, was in a number of nursing homes, assisted livings, independent living, even up till the time of his death in April 18, 2024. Is that right?
Yes.
However, he always considered Anahuac his home. Is that right?
Yes.
And the document dated April 25th, 2022, you provided me a document dated April 25th, 2022, which purports to be his last will. To your knowledge, is that his will?
Yes.
And you provided me the original, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that, of course, had been filed, and we're here today to probate the will and to appoint you as independent executor, is that right?
Yes.
And the sole beneficiary is your mother, Rachel, seated to your right. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as necessity exists for the administration of the estate, Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And there was no children born or adopted after the date of the will, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And there was no gift to any charitable organization or any governmental organization under the will, is that right?
That's correct.
And it's a non-taxable estate.
Yes, sir.
And at no time did Herman Leon Dunn apply for Medicaid benefits, right?
Correct.
And
He did not.
he under his will, he appointed you to what amounts to be independent executor, and he is in his will, it refers to independent administration, and you're seeking to be appointed independent executor, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you are not disqualified from serving as independent executor, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've never been convicted of any criminal offense, right?
Right.
And
Correct.
you've never been declared mentally incapacitated, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Camp. Judge, I'd ask that the court take judicial notice of the will on file of Herman Leon Dunn and appoint Sonia Rochelle Camp, also known as Sonia R. Camp, as independent executor to serve without bond. That's all I have, Judge.
Well done. Thank you, Counselor. You ladies have a good day.
Nice to
Thank you,
see-
sir. You too. What do I do?
All right, cause number 72, the state of Valley Herd. Are you Daniel Hurd? Mr. Hurd, you're muted if that's you. I guess you're the only one left, so it's gotta be you. You need to unmute yourself, sir. There you go. I think we need to, did you get sworn in earlier? Were you on? Okay. All right, you may proceed. I said you may proceed. You have testimony you'd like to provide to court?
No, not really.
All right, so I'll take judicial notice of what you filed.
Yeah.
The value of the state does not exceed 75,000. Is that correct?
Yeah.
There's no encumbrances. Is that correct?
That's correct.
No known liabilities.
No.
All right, I'm gonna approve the order approving small state affidavit for the state of Valley Herd. Okay. Thank you.